that queued up, ready to go. And 1, 2, 3. Welcome to MK Channel 40 News. It's Start the Week. It's our new programme format because we changed how we're doing things. We put an announcement last week which I was very pleased to see was greeted with unanimous support, but times are a-changing. If we look at where we were when we started this initiative back on March the 16th, there was a tremendous amount of information and we were there every weekday trying to make sense of it. Things have slowed down, and now the emphasis is on how we actually get Milton Keynes back into action, how we end this lockdown. And the news is a lot more measured. So we're doing Start the Week, which gives us a catch-up of what's been happening on normally a Monday. It's Tuesday because of the bank holiday, and a recap over the weekend. And towards the end of the week, normally on a Thursday, we'll do This Week on MK Channel 40 News on beating coronavirus. And that will be the sort of style of review. So we have our guest reviewers. In this case today, we just have one guest reviewer. So I'd, without further ado, like to introduce our friend Melanie. Melanie, you're on screen now, your little picture, because you're so shy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's news. I hope everybody had a lovely weekend. It was glorious weather, and today's just as glorious, but unfortunately, we're stuck in home offices working from home. So let's hope this new format will suit everybody, and let's bring you the news.
Yeah, so I'm just going to switch on to our wonderful Milton Keynes Beating Coronavirus Facebook group, which has grown another 20 or so members. We just keep on growing, which is great. I'm just going to go right to the top of the page. People might have noticed we've got a new masthead because we kind of wanted to lift the gloom, update all the messages for government guidance. Although I think that's a very fraught subject at the moment. We'll discuss that as we go through the news. And so, Melanie, as we trundle down the news, there was the big announcement about the 10th day in a row, and a little bit of cynicism based on what people are hearing on the grapevine as well. What do you think to the 10 days in a row with no coronavirus deaths?
Well, I mean, if the statistics are correct, I think it's absolutely amazing, and we are doing something wonderful. And the news has come out today that we're now in the 11th day without any deaths at MKUH. But yes, there is a bit of skepticism there. Lucy Fox had said that somebody she knows said somebody had died at the hospital a couple of days ago. I'm just trying to look for... Lucy said, I don't believe the someone I know said their friend's relative died of the COVID in the hospital the other day. So it's very, very interesting as to what the what is correct. Are we 11 days in with no deaths? I don't know. They're not taking into account, or the headlines aren't taking into account any new admissions. So we still don't know how many people have been admitted. And apparently in Bristol, there's a sharp rise in one area. There's a sharp rise in cases.
Yeah, and we're on a situation where the R value had started to move the beginning of last week in the wrong direction. And we've had this warm weekend with a lot of people going out to the beaches, etc., and mixing it.
Exactly.
It kind of does worry me, and I also think there is a challenge with the post-truth world that we were told we were in last year after all of the shenanigans with the challenge to traditional press by people in particular like Donald Trump. And And obviously, I don't think everybody's sure of what the truth is. I mean, one thing I will say is that I've found personally a lot of pressure was put on stopping people who were extremely ill going into MK Hospital. So I've got one member of our family. It's the in-laws, and her husband was extremely ill, and they pleaded twice, and they wouldn't let him go into hospital, even though paramedics were called out. And when they eventually got him into hospital, he was found to have these dreaded blood clots, and this was before the blood clots were actually seen to be a killer symptom of coronavirus, more lethal than the pneumonia. So you just wonder whether or not the statistics are being manipulated in some way. And of course, it took a long while for home deaths and for care home deaths. And those are things that we've been championing, is to try to get a really balanced view of what exactly is happening with deaths from coronavirus. So,
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
yeah. So anyway, moving on to perhaps more cheerful news. I'm sure there is some out there.
Okay, so we 11th day in a row with no coronavirus deaths at MKUH today. Again, you know, very skeptical as to whether that is the truth or not.
Yeah.
And then something you put up, a watch party, help
Yep.
get fit to fight fit and motivated to fight COVID-19. I didn't get to watch that, so
It's a great video. I mean, it's just fantastic. This is a well-known TV personality from the noughties, and it was one of the other groups. We do monitor and try and support the good stuff that's on the other groups, but you know, he was contacted and he put a special message for MK with his own personal advice about treasuring and, you know, the fact that life is short, and grab it by the, as long as you've got teeth to smile, he said, then you know, go for life, you know, and smile as much as you can. So a really nice message.
Exactly. Oh, okay, I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Have you got next on your screen about during these unprecedented times, Relate MK?
Yes, I've got that one there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Relate MK have said that during the unprecedented times that they understand there's a need for their services now more than ever, and they recognize the effect lockdown is having on people's mental health and well-being, and that they also realize that many people are facing financial problems, and this may be due to self-isolating, being unable to work, or as a result of bereavement. They suspended their face-to-face delivery on the 23rd of March, and all of their counsellors completed further training, which enabled them to deliver their services remotely via webcam. So anybody that needs Relate can still contact them, although it will be via a Zoom call, but it's still face-to-face if you want to show them your face. So they are still available, so please contact them if you need to.
Yeah, and Relate is a marriage guidance service, and it's there to stop the relationship degrading to the point where people need separation, and it will help couples where there isn't necessarily abuse, but the stress and the tensions have caught up with them and overwhelmed them. Just on that, the financial thing you mentioned, Melanie, we did a very good interview which people can go back to with Mike Cashman, who is dealing with MK Money Lifeline, which will provide extra help to organisations alongside other debt relief. But that's another charity in Milton Keynes, which we're very, very keen to promote. Yeah, fantastic.
Then when Rob Scott put something up, just a video surveillance tech. If any MK businesses are looking to improve their facilities to adhere to new COVID-19 policy, please send a private message. So if there's any businesses looking for anything, Rob Scott is your man.
Yep.
Then, oh dear, Sage concerns over impact on test and trace after Dominic Cummings' Durham trip. This is a very difficult one, isn't it? It's the country is divided. probably, I don't know, a 60-90 split, even more, 70-20, as to whether Dominic Cummings should have been sacked. This could put the whole track and trace thing into jeopardy. I don't know. I just don't have any answers for this one.
Well, I have an answer, and I think the answer came from the community because we ran our own poll, and it was pretty overwhelming. There's probably only 3 people that said it was a fair argument in defence that he put, but the community is on the same wavelength as literally everybody else that you see. All the front, when you get the front pages of all the papers, including what one would say are relatively Tory-friendly papers like the Daily Mail saying he should go. When you get an MP, the Scottish MP that resigned today, the backbencher, that essentially is giving Boris a huge message, and I think he was very wrong to take the side of Dominic. I think there could probably have been other roles he could have played, and they could have just moved him there. But Boris, you're probably not watching this, but people that maybe do have his ear, your popularity ratings have plunged big time on this, and it's not your fault. It's just been very badly handled, I think, in terms of a public relations exercise. I think that's what they call it.
I saw an article earlier, which I don't think I posted onto this page because I was quite busy at work. But anyway, it was a doctor who has gone right through the COVID-19, dealing with patients, dealing with death. And he said if Dominic Cummings doesn't resign or is not sacked, he will be leaving the NHS, because he's worked and he's seen frontline exactly what is happening. And this guy was allowed to just do as he wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the ridiculous thing about this eye test, I mean, wow. Do we really believe that? Don't think so.
It's like ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Anyway,
it
let's
hits
stop being
on somebody
negative.
else.
Let's stop Dominic Cummings bashing, because the rest of the country can do that for us. What else have we got?
Exactly. So next one down is a vaccine. JD Allen put this up. Mm-hmm. Vaccine will be ready for Brits by September, insists drug firm boss. Mm-hmm. So that is really interesting. I watched a program on TV the other night, and they were at a lab, not one of the labs that are trying to do this vaccine, but they make some sort of tablet. It's not a malaria pill, but some other sort of pill that they reckon could help fight COVID as well. I cannot remember what the lab's name or what the pill's name is, but I thought that was very interesting if that can come out.
I think that might have been devalued. I think that was the chloroquine, which Mr. Trump has been taking, and
no, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't the malaria. No.
It was the. I know the one. It was the one that beat Ebola, remdesivir.
That's it. Yeah, they because it was a doctor that actually went to the lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an Asian doctor that went into the lab and was. I think it was on Friday evening.
Yeah, it's remdesivir, and it's been shown, first of all in the US, but in other trials, to reduce the severity and the length of the illness by around 4 days, which gives people a much better chance of recovery.
Yeah, exactly. So that was really interesting. Yeah. JD Allen again, a model predicts September end for COVID-19 in the UK. So this is without is this without a vaccine? I don't know. Let's have a look.
I just hope to God that's true. There's a lot of things that could. I mean, the great thing is the pace of change is just phenomenal. What would take 2 or 3 years is looking like it might be possible. So yes, that's a Daily Mail article.
So coronavirus pandemic could be over in the UK by September the 30th. Scientific model predicts virus will continue its steady decline with no second wave. Yeah. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic if that is true.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that you put up, John. Doctor spearheads unique opportunity created by lockdown to win the battle against HIV.
Yeah.
So, so again, this is very positive, isn't it? So,
Yeah, it's a really interesting article. It came out on the BBC over the weekend, but it's indicating that sexual transmitted diseases have plummeted. I wonder why. But with that, it gives an opportunity, because there's an incubation period with HIV, to really get a handle with a sort of track and trace solution to actually home in and stop HIV spreading in the UK, which would be an incredible breakthrough.
Oh, hell yes, definitely. So yeah, that's definitely something as well to look forward to. Susan St. Moore put up COVID-19 MK emergency response appeal. The Community Foundation provides a lifeline to local charities. So they are looking for emergency response. Let's have a look. They has 100K allocated from existing fund holders and received a generous 50. Yeah, so they are looking for funds. Let's see, dozens of small community groups providing vital support to those hardest hit by the impact of COVID-19 have shared £300,000 in grants just when it was needed the most. But I think that the Community Foundation are looking for more funding. So there is a website there. If everybody can go and have a look at that and possibly donate a couple of pounds, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just going to open up the website. So that's on MKFM. Just actually on that, with MKFM, we are definitely partnering. So I've got some really great news in that over the next 3 months, we're going to be having a series of radio adverts, which will be orientated to helping this MK Channel 40 and Milton Keynes Beating Coronavirus glue the businesses that are trying to power out and bounce back with the charities, because there is a 50% reduction on average across all of the charities in Milton Keynes in terms of fundraising. So watch out for the promotion on that. There is already some information we pushed out last week as a preview, but we have now signed the contract and are paying to get that campaign off the ground. So if you're a business, like the business that we saw earlier on, which had something as part of a solution, we'll give a free promotion and a shout out and an interview using our forum. Happy to do that. But if you go on to do anything commercial, a live stream, help with getting your Zoom calls out on Facebook, stuff that we can do as paid for work, we as a company are going to give 20% back. And we've got other people already interested in joining us. So we had a great conversation with an interview that will be pushed out by Karen Kodish. And she's going to be working with us on documentary photography to actually help businesses really show how they're coming through this historic time to their customers, and really, I think, an important testament to their work. And that's really interesting work that we can get possibly a little bit of funding for and recycle that back to the charities. And we're going to be doing that in partnership with MKFM. So
that's fantastic news, John. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And with Karen Kodish, can I just add that, with her documenting what is going on at the moment, with the way people are living their lives during a lockdown, it's stuff for the history books. Kids that are born now, they need to know what they were born into at the time. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Everything that everything put together will be fantastic.
Fantastic. Good.
Right. So
Trundling
next
on.
one, John, you put on 72% of Milton Keynes residents want to end the weekly clap for carers. I think this is a nationwide thing. The person that actually started it as well on a weekly basis has said it's run its course and it needs to stop. So I do think that this Thursday's clap will be the final clap for the NHS. So if it is, let's just make it a very, very special one.
Agreed. And I think as well, we've been monitoring the sad loss of NHS staff and key workers. and it has now started to show signs of stopping. I think we had one name to add to our weekly update to our tribute video. So it'd be interesting to see what people think. Do comment in our Facebook group about
Yes,
that on
please
this
do.
post, and we'll do the right thing and try and support the right initiatives.
Yeah, definitely, please do. And then again, back to Boris and Dominic Cummings. His scientific advisors have a pop at Boris,
Yeah.
or because of Dominic Cummings. So, you know, it would be nice to know what people's thoughts are. Have a look at our poll. You know, just add your comments and your thoughts to that.
Yeah.
I'm sure JD Allen will have. You know, he's quite hot on this social distancing and everything else. So it'd be interesting to know what JD Allen's thoughts are on that as well.
Absolutely.
We have a musical charity choir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, it's all pictures. I can't see what.
Yeah,
what
it's
that one's about.
their virtual choir video,
Yeah,
people
that's
joining,
right, yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Rubbish
Yeah.
collections back on track or not
Back on
being
track,
affected.
yes. And the tips are open as well. I went to the tip I actually had 2 slots, Saturday and Sunday. Cheeky, I know. And the system is working amazingly. You phone in, you get a slot, you get in there, 15 minutes you've got to empty your vehicle. Only 2 vehicles allowed in at a time. If you've ever been to the household tips, especially the one up at Bleak Hall, you've got various areas for various things, but because only 2 cars are allowed in, one side is for one car, the other side is for the other car, and you do not cross paths at all. So it's very, very well done.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
A big shout out to the council on that. They've really handled that really well. Unlike other councils where people have been queuing for 7 hours at a time, MK Council have really done a good job.
That's good to hear.
And then let's see the latest good news, the not so good news in the battle to find a COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah. So we've done justice to that, I think, earlier on in terms of some of the things.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
The baffling observations from the front line, so if people are interested on the true patterns of the disease. So one of the things, and I put that one in myself, is that when we first had coronavirus, the emphasis was on the need for treatment of a terrible bout of pneumonia that this induces. So there was this huge push to get as many ventilators. Why I think we're in a much better position now is that they now understand the different symptoms and stages that this goes through and how they can fight the virus at different stages. And that includes things that we mentioned earlier on, like blood clots, so giving people blood thinning agents when they're admitted improves their life chances. So just understanding all of those things, that's a really good article by, again, BBC that would help understand how we're in a much better place to treat people that get very seriously ill.
Yeah, well, I was talking to a colleague earlier on, and last year her mum was seriously ill just before Christmas. And her mum lives in London, but she had come to visit my colleague for a while before Christmas. Anyway, she was taken ill and she was taken to the hospital, and she had all the symptoms of COVID-19. But they said she had a lung infection, she had blood clots on the lung and everything like that. And now we are 100% certain that it was COVID-19.
Yeah.
You know, so even, I mean, we're talking November, December last year when her mum was in hospital. So it was definitely around then, and, you know, those symptoms were around. So
that's what we've actually published again. If people missed it just over 2 weeks ago, University of London study genetically mapping things back from cases in France where people had been proven to have had coronavirus in December. I think even myself and my daughter came down very heavily with something in, I went down early December, late November. She went down late December with all the classic symptoms. We didn't know what it was at the time, but they reckon it all traced back to a sports event with 6,000 athletes in China in early October, and then they flew around the world, leaving that event with the virus, and we are where we are. So I do buy into what you're saying, but the only way that we'll find out is when everybody gets tested, which looks like that will happen with
That
these
will happen,
new
yeah.
antibody tests. And I can't wait to see what my results are, because I'm 95% sure that I actually had coronavirus.
Well, I'm exactly the same. At the beginning in March, I had to take a couple of days out before we had to isolate at home from work. And I contacted my HR manager and my own boss, and I said to them, I had a sore throat, I had a cough, I was feeling really, really rough. I could hardly lift my head off the pillow.
Yeah,
And I was 100% sure then that I had symptoms of it. But
yeah,
at that time, I was still able to function, so you didn't
mm,
have to phone the NHS or anything like that. So
yeah,
for myself as well, I'd be very interested to know.
yeah. Cool. Okay. So
Okay,
moving
and
on.
then we've got the MK Dons.
Yeah.
They reckon if you're an MK Dons fan, that they'll be able to survive. So what's this? They can survive another 500k is the cost of ending the season. But the
Yeah.
Dons say they'll still be able to stay afloat. So if you're
Yeah.
interested in MK Dons, that's good news for them.
Yeah, I think they'll
Um,
survive, but I think we'll end up with a lot smaller leagues, and they might have to fuse some of the leagues together. I think it is going to be catastrophic for lower league football, but
definitely.
we hope the Dons will be back, and it's good news that they've got the financial resources, so we're lucky in this area.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Then, should pubs open in July? That's the big question, I suppose. A lot of people saying yes, a lot of people saying no. Can you safely distance at 1 meter? I know they're saying that's 2 meters is far too much. 1 meter is more than ample. But would you go into a pub? I don't know. I wouldn't, unless it was in the garden.
Yeah, I think there is room here for the country pubs and inner city pubs that have big gardens, because you could do safe distancing. You could have plastic disposable cups. You could have table service. You could do all sorts of different things to protect both the staff and customers. And I just think at the moment the country needs a little bit of ease on those aspects. But I think the government's just doing top down, and they're worried maybe that everybody will take the biscuit and things will just go crazy. And I don't think the British public are like that. I think we deserve a bit more respect.
Well, I'm not so sure. Did you not see the images of the beaches in Essex and that yesterday? Oh,
yeah.
God.
I mean, you've got to expect that. But on the other hand, the majority of people are trying to keep with the program most of the time. They've done so over an incredible length of time, and I think it's time for a little bit of sensible relaxation. Personally.
Oh, I do agree, because I think everybody is really getting fed up now. And I think when people start getting fed up, that's when they start doing things they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So.
Correct. I think that's why we're seeing them on the beaches.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So.
And I think we're sort of almost towards the end, aren't we? We've got.
Yeah, I think there's one here from J.D. Allen, which is Milton Keynes Council supporting cities' vulnerable children to access laptops at home, which is another great thing the MK Council are doing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of children that their parents can't afford to buy them laptops or iPads or whatever. So that's fantastic.
It is. Yeah, that really is. Welcome to Sophie Hannah, a new blogger. We like light-hearted stuff. Really well found. So I'm going to make contact with Sophie and see if we can get her involved more.
Oh, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah. So let's just give her a little bit of a shout out for her and go and see her blog site. So there we go. I'm going to accept.
23 things that will happen in Milton Keynes when the lockdown is over.
Yeah, there's a cheeky face there. We like that. We like a bit of cheek. Occasionally I'm cheeky. So that's great. I think that's a pretty good roundup. I will just quickly pan, unless there's anything else that you've seen.
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Bank holiday, well, that's over and done with now. So.
Yeah. We give a little plug for my friend here, Richard. He's doing some MK Channel 40 videos he picked up on I've called it one of the part of Greater MK, i.e. Bedford. I'm sure the people in Bedford will resent that, but
it's MK postcodes, I'm afraid.
That's it. We're the boss. This is
Yeah.
so. But they are a great charity. It's people that are helping with the homeless, with housing, and so we let one of their people come in and talk about what they're doing for the homeless and that in neighbouring Bedford. So I think that's about it. Let me just compare with my notes.
Do one more plug, Naseem Khan, and I have plugged her before for this.
Yeah, sure.
She's doing an amazing job feeding the homeless. That was her Eid over the weekend, and she spent Eid making food for homeless people, which was fantastic. But she also got, and I did mention this last week, and it's a really well-deserved award. She's an unsung hero of Milton Keynes, and she's the winner of the Mayor's Award, which is just absolutely amazing. Unsung hero of Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
And we do need to support her more if we can, please.
Yeah. So Naseem Khan, she's a friend of mine. There's, I think, her site. There's a little bit of the food that she's putting out. She's been running food delivery and support charity for 2 years, so this isn't just a coronavirus thing.
No, I know, and she doesn't. She takes the profits from her own business.
Yeah.
She does have a restaurant, Numji,
Yeah.
in Wolverton, and she takes the profits from her own business to pay for this. She very, very rarely asks for anybody to donate.
Yeah.
But then somebody had put up a donation appeal because she was giving out lots and lots of meals to hospital workers, and there are so many people that continually give fruit and vegetables. The guy on the fruit and veg stall in the market, it's just amazing how people rally together to help her out. Because I don't think it's, although she loves doing what she's doing, I don't think it's fair that she always has to use her profits from her business.
Yeah, that's right. She's not a charity, etc.
No.
The previous Labour Party guy there, Jeremy Corbyn. But I think what she does goes beyond politics and religions, which is what we like to see.
Yeah.
And we also did, over the weekend, put a special best wishes to everybody in the Muslim community. It's been a tough time for you guys, and I hope that you've been able to celebrate. Obviously, we're hoping next year it'll be an even bigger celebration for you. But just to say a big thank you, especially to some of the youth organisations who've been doing such incredible work. We've had lots of posts that we've put up, and we'll continue to do that. And it just shows that sort of unity of spirit working to make Milton Keynes a better place. So on that note, Melanie, I will say good night and goodbye, and let you do the same.
I will say good night and goodbye. Enjoy what's left of the sunshine. Go for a lovely walk, have a lovely dinner, and have a good evening.
Brilliant. And bye for myself. Bye. There we go. Stream cut.
You done?